Ben Shapiro has just been exposed for using the George Floyd, Derek Chauvin situation to basically grift his audience. And the funny thing about this is I actually made a video about it 5 days ago, and I told everybody that Ben Shapiro was a grifter. I got a little pushback in the comments. That's fine, no big deal. But now what we're seeing is other YouTubers who have way bigger followings than me are now fully exposing Ben Shapiro for the exact same thing that I said in my video 5 days ago, except they're articulating it better, and they actually pulled up some interesting evidence that I didn't even fully notice. We're going to break that down in just a second. But first, let me go ahead and go to this video right here. So this guy, his name is Rob Smith. He recently went on the Patrick Bet-David podcast, and he had this to say about Ben Shapiro all of a sudden out of nowhere calling for, Donald Trump to pardon Derek Chauvin, even though he's in jail for a state case. Let's go ahead and listen to what he has to say.
There is absolutely nothing beneficial that pardoning Chauvin would do for the Trump administration, for this country, for race relations, for anybody else. It is absolutely destructive. It makes no sense. And so for me, when I first saw this, generally conversations that happen come from the ground up. Usually there's some sort of murmuring under, and then it kind of like bubbles up, and then it becomes a national conversation. This seems to be a very top-down conversation that comes from somebody with an enormous amount of influence. This is nothing that anybody was talking about or thinking about. So it really makes me question, why is this conversation happening right now? It makes me question, why did Ben Shapiro want to start this conversation right now? Who does this benefit? Doesn't benefit Trump, doesn't benefit America, doesn't benefit race relations. It doesn't benefit anything. And the last point I'll make.
And that is a great point. Regardless of how you feel about the Derek Chauvin, George Floyd situation, the point is nobody was even thinking about this. There wasn't a big uproar about it on social media where people were like, we're calling on President Trump to do this. This is something that Ben Shapiro just came out of nowhere with and decided, hey, I'm going to call for the release of Derek Chauvin. He then goes ahead and creates a website. He's like pardonchauvin.com or whatever. It's like something like that. And it turns out this guy was spot on. Why did Ben Shapiro do this? Did he have genuine intentions for why he wants Derek Chauvin to be pardoned? Even though 4 years ago, he said that Derek Chauvin should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. He has now flipped his position. Why has he done that? Well, a good YouTuber named Mark Dice has that answer for you. Let's go ahead and take a listen to his video.
PARDONDEREK.com.
Ben Shapiro is a Harvard-educated lawyer, and he, of all people, knows that President Trump can't get Derek Chauvin out of prison because he was convicted on state murder charges. He was convicted on federal civil rights violations as well, which President Trump couldn't pardon those, but he still isn't going to get out of prison. But little Ben is giving the impression that Derek Chauvin could just be set free. He can just walk right out of prison, just like the Proud Boys, who deserve to all be set free. And again, this wasn't just a comment that he made off the top of his head. This is part of a campaign with their new website, PardonDerek.com, which then leads you to the Daily Wire's website, where it has this note here, which says, "We encourage you, President Trump, to pardon Officer Derek Chauvin. Sign the petition over here." And then the fine print right there you can read says, "By clicking here, you consent to receive emails featuring news and special offers from the Daily Wire and our sponsors." So
that's the grift right there. Now, you guys know I've been covering the fall of the Daily Wire for a while now. We just made a video about it yesterday. The bottom line is the Daily Wire is on the decline. They lost two of their biggest stars. Ben Shapiro's following is not as big anymore. His views are declining as well. They're doing everything they can to survive. So they came up with this cheap tactic, this scummy little grift. We're going to use this big issue that will automatically get clicks and get people to look, which is true. You talk about Derek Chauvin, whichever side you take, it's going to be controversial. It's going to get clicks. It's going to get eyeballs. Why? Because regardless of how you feel about the George Floyd situation, it kicked off an entire summer of riots, looting, protests. I will never forget that. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen, was the George Floyd protest. It literally ignited an entire, movement. And it turned into this thing where you had a lot of people rioting and looting and different things like that, protesting as well. And Ben Shapiro's like, hey, if we use this, and we just put in the fine print, then it should be okay. And so the actual goal of the Derek Chauvin thing was not, we want to get Derek Chauvin pardoned, because this guy is 1,000% right. Calling for President Trump to pardon Derek Chauvin makes no sense. It doesn't do anything. Even if he does it, he's still going to sit in jail. It doesn't do anything. It's a state case. So why would you do that? Oh, I know. You're trying to get clicks. You know that your audience is pretty gullible. And you're like, hey, everybody go sign this petition. And now I'm going to blast you with emails featuring news and special offers from the Daily Wire. And I'm going to try and get you to buy our subscription, Daily Wire Plus, however much it is a month, as well as all the other services and products that we sell. That was the entire game here. It's extremely disingenuous, and it is nothing more than a gigantic grift.
It's literally nothing more than a publicity stunt for the Daily Wire to increase their email list so that they can spam people, encouraging them to become paid members for the Daily Wire Plus and to shill all of their products like their proprietary Jeremy's razors and the Daily Wire chocolate bars. That is the face of a lying devil. It would be one thing if President Trump actually could get Derek Chauvin out of prison, but again, he can't, and Ben knows that. If Ben Shapiro wanted to reach the President of the United States for any reason, all he would have to do is just send a text message or pick up the phone and call any of the number of senators or members of the House of Representatives whose personal cell phone number he has. Last week, he was Speaker of the House Mike Johnson's guest at the joint address to Congress. That's how well connected Ben is to the power structure. And the Daily Wire is now running this party.
That is true. If you really want to get things done, you got to talk to the source, or at least talk to people who have access to the source. Doing this weird public campaign to get people to sign up for your freaking emails is stupid. If you were at Donald Trump's recent speech and you're friends with all these senators and people that are close to Trump, and I'm sure you know some of the cabinet members too, you could have just spoke to them and said, hey, I really think that Derek Chauvin should be pardoned. And then right after he said that, they would have immediately told him, why do you want Derek Chauvin to be pardoned? Even if we pardon him, it literally does nothing. He's still going to sit in jail for the 20 plus years that he got because it's a state case. What the heck are you talking about, Ben? So, of course, Ben isn't going to go to any of the people that are connected to Trump and actually try to get it done, because it won't even get to Trump. They'll immediately question why he wants Trump to do that when it wouldn't do anything. Because, again, this is all a gigantic grift.
Derek.com scam as an ad on their shows.
Democrats are on the run, and we're going to get to just why in a moment. First, the Daily Wire continues our fight. As you know, on this show, we've been calling for the pardon of Derek Chauvin. Derek Chauvin was railroaded.
Yes, we know that. In fact, we knew that the day that the video went public because it was clear that he was having a medical issue. But at the time, Little Ben threw Derek Chauvin under the bus, posting on Twitter that he just returned from a 2-day Jewish holiday and half the country is on fire. We all agree, he says, on George Floyd, which is why a bad cop is now under arrest. He went on to say that the government has one primary function: to prevent the violation of rights to life and liberty. A police officer destroyed George Floyd's rights. He did at least condemn the rioting and the looting, saying, you're not stealing that TV to honor George Floyd or protest police brutality. You're stealing that TV because you're a POS. And yes, of course, the officers plural, in that video should be prosecuted to the full extent of their law breaking. What laws did they break, Ben? This is the same guy who condemned cartoonist Scott Adams, calling him a racist.
All right, great video by Mark Dice. You guys want to check that out, definitely. I mean, he's already got a ginormous following, but yeah, good YouTuber. I like his content. Yeah, that's what you got going on with Ben Shapiro. Once again, the Daily Wire. What a downfall, right? Absolutely insane. That's it. Just wanted to cover the Ben Shapiro grift. I got vindicated a little bit because I got a little bit of heat, a little bit of hate, because I said that Ben Shapiro was grifting, which, I guess that's to be expected. He's a ginormous public figure, very well known. So, of course, his fans are going to not be happy. But anyway, obviously other people agree with me. And at this point, it's beyond obvious that he felt a certain way about George Floyd and the Derek Chauvin thing, and then he immediately flipped. And there were some people who said, like, he has a right to change his mind, but you're not understanding what I'm saying here. I don't know why people struggle with comprehension, but I'm just going to help you out a little bit. It's not that he changed his mind. It's not what I said. What I said was he changed his mind for grifting purposes. It wasn't genuine. Him changing his mind from I think Derek Chauvin is a terrible person, he should be prosecuted, to Derek Chauvin did nothing wrong, he should be pardoned by Trump. That wasn't done with genuine intentions. This was strictly done because Ben Shapiro sees that a lot of people feel this way. He also knows that this is a very controversial subject. And if I could get people on board with this, sign the George Floyd, Derek Chauvin, release some petition, you all can get signed up for the emails and I can push the Daily Wire products to you and hopefully get some more customers. That's the whole thing. Gigantic grift. I don't care what nobody says. That's what it is. And goodbye. No, seriously, no. Thank you guys for watching. That's really it for today's video. I just had to rant about that a little bit. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Yeah. I will see you guys in the next video. Sorry, I got a little distracted. Not the best ending, but we do what we can. All right, gotta go. Bye-bye.